Hey, it's me, NT, and welcome to my 6th in-depth walkthrough for the bosses of Hollow Knight, Silksong. Today we're looking at the second set of bosses in Act 2, Disgraced Chef Lugoli, Groal the Great, First Sinner, and Raging Conchfly. I'll show you where the boss is, how to prepare for it, and break down the techniques needed to defeat them. Here's the location of Disgraced Chef Lugoli and the bench you'll start from. At this point, I had gotten another silk spool for a total of 7 and had 7 total masks. For this fight, I suggest the Architect's Crest with the 3-fold pin and the Delver's Drill. The blue tools are the Fractured Mask, the Weave Light, and the Injector Band that lets us heal faster. If you already have the Wreath of Purity, I would replace the Weave Light with it. The yellow tools are the standard loadout of Compass, Ascendant's Grip, and Magnetite Brooch. Strike the gong to begin the fight against Lugoli's 2 minions. The Architect's charge attack is pretty useful here, but you'll want to wait to attack until they've whiffed one of their chopping attacks, because they travel a fairly long distance. When Lugoli appears, stay on the ground about a needle length away from him. Lugoli's projectiles arc up and away from him, so staying a bit back and on the ground gives you plenty of room to avoid them. If you get hit by a projectile and aren't protected by the Wreath of Purity, you'll be afflicted with a muckmaggot debuff that drains your silk until you bind to get rid of them. Try to get a charge-off attack at the beginning of the match, before things get going. When he drifts towards the floor and sticks his butt out, he's about to do his charge attack. Dash away as soon as you see his telegraph, and always assume you're in range if he's using it. Lugoli also has a ground pound where he leaps up into the air and slams down into the platform you're standing on, knocking 4 projectiles upward. Dodge him and stay far enough away and on the ground to dodge his projectiles. When he rears back his ladle, he's about to swipe downwards, causing 2 projectiles to arc forward. Dash away to dodge the swipe, and the projectile should arc harmlessly overhead. Phase 2 begins when Lugoli yells. He gains a new attack, a fast dive into a pot of his choice that causes projectiles to be launched, and another 4 projectiles when he reappears from the same pot. Be ready to dash away or under him when Lugoli dives, and stay on the ground to avoid projectiles. Lugoli doesn't have much health, and if you focus on dodging projectiles, the fight won't take long. Here's the location of Groal the Great and the hidden bench you'll start from. While Wreath of Purity wasn't required for Lugoli, you'll really want it for Groal. You can find it in the Putrefied Ducts, accessible from Memoriam, and it protects from muckmaggot infestation until it breaks. For this fight, I suggest the Reaper's Crest with the 3-fold pin and Volt Vessels in their Bola form. For blue tools, I suggest Fractured Mask, Wreath of Purity, and Pilot Pouch. Yellow tools should be Compass, Ascendant's Grip, and Weighted Belt. I didn't test if the Weighted Belt helped with Groal's vacuum attack, but I like to think it does. Groal has one of the more difficult runbacks in the game, but since we have our full movement set, Reaper's Crest for easier pogo, and Wreath of Purity, it's not too bad, just long. If you don't have Wreath of Purity, you can get to Groal without touching the water, but it requires at least 1 difficult claw line into a double jump. Actually, judicious use of the claw line makes the run much easier either way. Welcome to the arena fight before the Groal fight. You have to get through 5 waves before the boss will even show up, all the while trying to stay out of the muckmaggot water at the bottom. My recommendation is to stay on either the left or rightmost platforms, and only move towards the center when you're chasing an enemy or you need extra room to dodge. The first wave is 2 Stilkens. You primarily want to pogo off these enemies, double jump to reset, and then pogo again. If you're on one of our home platforms, they may appear under you, but that makes it even easier to get the height right for the pogo. The second wave is 2 Stilken Trappers. Here you want to leap forward and knock them back with strikes from your Reaper's Crest so they can't land on your platform. If they get too close, wall cling or run away. Occasionally during the arena and during the boss fight, a giant spiked ball will swing down from the ceiling. Stand on a home platform right against the wall and they'll always miss. Next wave is 3 Exploding Squits. If you time it right, you can use 1 squit to take out the other 2, but if they get too close, you'll need to run under them into the center of the room to have space to dodge. The next wave is a Stilken and a Stilken Trapper. Take out the Stilken first, and then you can focus on the Trapper. Next, you'll have to dodge 2 more spike balls. The last wave is a Stilken Trapper and 2 Swamp Squits. This wave is easy if you can convince the Squits to blow up the Trapper. I hope you've been enjoying the home platforms, because now that Groal is on the field, you won't be able to stay on them very long. This attack is the main reason you can't stay on the home platforms anymore. Groal spits out 2 projectiles that bounce once and then explode, and if they have the walls of the arena to bounce off, they can explode faster than you can get away. Keep moving back and forth and striking when you have a chance. Groal also has a vacuum attack that can suck you in from a fairly long range. If he gets you in his mouth, Groal will start chewing, doing 1 mask of damage per chomp. Mash the attack button to get him to spit you out. Luckily, Groal's vacuum isn't that strong, and a quick air dash should be enough to get to solid ground and out of danger. Just keep walking away until he's done, or cling to the wall. When Groal dives into the water like Chef Lugoli, we're back in the arena mode. Expect to see 2 Stilken or Stilken Trappers, and possibly a spike ball. Take care of them exactly like you did during the arena, and be happy that once they jump into the water, they won't come back. After a certain amount of time, Groal will reappear from under you, so dodge or hug the room wall to avoid him. Also note that sometimes Groal will reappear without summoning anything. Phase 2 begins when Groal shouts, and he gains a new attack where he shoots 2 to 3 fireballs across the screen. Stand on a home platform and jump to not only dodge the fireballs, but to bait the next fireball into hitting somewhere you're not. At this point, you should start using your pins to keep Groal poisoned, and tossing your Volt Vessels on top of his head to try for some multi-hits. Keep at it until Groal the Great becomes Groal the Exploded. Here's the location of first center and the bench you'll start from. By this point, I had gotten another mask for a total of 8. I suggest using the Reaper's Crest with 3-fold pin and the conchflies. For blue tools, I suggest the Fractured Mask, the Weave Light, and the Long Claw to extend the range of your needle attacks. You spend a lot of time chasing down first center, and it at least made me feel better knowing the Long Claw was equipped. For yellow tools, I suggest the compass, the weighted belt, and the magnetite brooch. I really enjoyed fighting first center. In fact, she's been my favorite boss in the game, but she can be a little overwhelming at first. She teleports like crazy, and unless you're countering or interrupting her, it can be impossible to land a hit. I recommend primarily using the Reaper's Crest dash attack, since it's an uppercut that lifts you into the air and out of the range of some of her attacks. Essentially, whenever she appears, you should be dash uppercutting her, then pogoing downward or air dashing out of danger. First center's main way of attacking is by summoning needles. Each needle will follow along the path of a silken aiming line, which makes it easy for you to tell where to dodge. This time she summoned 3 needles that will fire diagonally downward after a brief delay. First center has a claw swipe dash like Widow that doesn't travel as far, but comes out faster. You want to pogo her whenever she does this to either do damage, or at least get a parry. Her worst attack are 2 horizontal needles that fire very quickly after they appear. Slot yourself between them and do whatever it takes not to get in their path. Since they fire so quickly, air dashing over them is often your best bet. If she appears in the air like this, she's going to do a diagonal down slash attack in the direction she's facing. Dash under her to avoid getting hit, and counterattack as she lands. Now, first center can bind just like Hornet, so if you see her surrounding herself with thread, knock her out of it with a dash attack or a pin so she can't heal. Phase 2 starts with no warning, as first center starts to get serious. She'll start combining 2 attacks, or launching them in quick succession. Suddenly you'll have to start dealing with horizontal and vertical needle attacks at the same time, or a needle attack and a claw attack at the same time, but just keep dodging as normal. First center has 2 more needle patterns you might see, a diagonal X of needles, and a line of vertical needles that fire down into the arena, but there's nothing particularly special about their attacks or how you dodge them. When first center disappears, you'll have a moment to heal before phase 3 starts. This phase seems totally overwhelming, and it will certainly tax your skills, but it's not as bad as it seems. She gets a new attack that's pretty easy to dodge, and now she can change 3 attacks together instead of 2. That's it. She'll begin by using her new attack where she fills the arena with explosive runes. For this attack, stay on the ground and calmly walk to a safe spot to dodge. Don't try to counterattack, just focus on dodging. When her new attack ends, keep dash uppercutting her. She's cranked up the speed, so you'll have to do the same, but if you keep fighting her like in phase 2 and keep healed up, it's only a matter of time before you win. However, now is a good time to start using your conchflies. Here's the location of Raging Conchfly and the bench you'll start from. For this fight, I suggest the Wanderer Crest with the curved claw. For blue tools, I suggest the Fractured Mask, the Weave Light, and the Injector Band. And for yellow tools, I would use the compass, the weighted belt, and the magnetite brooch. A Raging Conchfly is faster, hits harder, and has more attacks than a regular Great Conchfly, but is still a bit of a pushover. Most of their attacks have a pretty large window for you to get some damage in, So the main trick is learning what you need to avoid. Raging Conchfly has the same projectile attack as before, but is bigger and will hit twice. If you strike the projectile, it counts as being deflected and will fly away from you. So I usually tried to leap at the Conchfly and strike both the boss and the projectile at the same time. Sometimes that worked, and sometimes it didn't. Like before, the Raging Conchfly will come out of the wall, charge straight across, stick in the wall for a second, and then disappear again. Dodge the dust trails that show where they'll appear from. Note that Raging Conchfly can now also do these charges from the middle of the room, so keep an eye out and pogo off them. The main trick that Raging Conchfly picked up was summoning friends. If you see it roar, watch out for dust trails that mark where its buddies will charge across. And if it's on the side of the arena when it roars, you need to stay clear, because it's about to flip horizontally, which is essentially an unavoidable attack before its charge attack. When Raging Conchfly is at the sides of the arena and summons mobs like this, they're about to charge across the arena in a staggered line. Get a few hits off on a mob to build silk, then run away and dodge. Usually the boss will follow his buddies and you can get a pogo off them, but sometimes they'll do something completely different like appear above or below you. The injector band really helps if you need to get a quick heal off between the boss's attacks, but since there's no phase 2 to this fight, it's not that bad. Claim victory and you can be all meh, Conchflies again. I hope this video helped you out, or at least gave you an interesting look at some of the bosses. The next video will have 2 more bosses like First Center that stretched my skills to the limit, and I'd love to share with you what I learned. If you'd like to see that video and my other in-depth boss walkthroughs, would you please subscribe and turn notifications on? And if you found this video super helpful and you want to support me, there's a Ko-Fi link in the description. Anyway, that's it for me this evening. I hope you're still enjoying Silksong, and bye!